Yay, okay, that worked. Okay, great stuff. Let me just get the chat out. Okay, fantastic. I think everything's up. Okay. Wait, there was still some other thing. This one. Fum, okay. Now I'm ready to go. I think. Okay. So, what are we going to do today? Well, last time we were working on getting this new data set up. And I guess some of it is okay. But I did think about this a little bit more. And I kind of realized, there should be more than one type of level up for these things, I feel like. Yeah. So I feel basically what I mean is, I made it so that like your mining station or whatever, you can level up and that's it, right? And then you get more extractors and you get more solar energy or whatever. But I don't know if that is the way I want to do it. I feel like I could give you options. So there could be a base level up, right? So you which increases your extractors, for instance. But it doesn't necessarily increase things like your power output. I think you should be getting power upgrades separately, if that makes sense. And what that could do then is I could have the same kind of power upgrades for everything. So I would do something like, let's see, I think I made all of these. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, nodes, modules, these things are no longer required. So I might as well just delete or hijack some of these. Okay, so this is maybe, let's try something here. So here's what I think. Let's grab these. And put them here. And let's rename this one. Rename nodes to solar power. Let's just call it solar power. I'm gonna have to insert another row here. Okay. You know what? Let's just delete everything. Delete it all. Start again. Okay, so this is gonna be the how would I want to do this? Do I want to call this solar power or just power in general? I think I'm just going to call this power upgrades, something like that. And here's the idea, right? So we have upgrade. Well, actually, let's copy. I want to just get this so I can see. Well, It's not gonna. This is not gonna be part of the actual spreadsheet at the end of the day. It's just something for now. You know, we can rotate these. I just want to put this in so I can see, you know, what the power is doing. So this is going to be the upgrade. And this is going to be the power output. Okay, so yeah, so these will act a little bit differently. All right, so here's the idea. You can do solar. So let's call them panels, solar panels, and you know, each level of solar panels could give you 1,000. I don't know. So this is power output. So solar power gives you this much, and I just want to do this. And you can be, yeah, whatever. You could just be that. Yeah, now we just so we can see, you know, have an idea how the solar power scales. So it doesn't scale very well out, you know, in the outer solar system. But let's think about it in terms of our complexes. So these use about 1,000 energy. Okay, processing like 4,000, research complex 1,000, logistics hub 500, corridor 1,000. Okay, so let's maybe start off the solar power with like 2,000. Just so it feels a little bit more useful for those, you know, starting numbers. Okay, so this is the amount of power solar panels give you. Then I kind of want to do... Yeah, so I gave them these other energy generations. So this was fusion essentially, right? I wonder if I want different tiers of power, or is like solar panels the only thing you can do? So previously I had something like, you know, gas turbine, and then, well, underscore turbine. And then you add nuclear. That's called power. And then you had like a fusion reactor. Something like that. Now, there's a couple of things that happen here. So the gas turbine would need to burn something physically, so some kind of fuel. Nuclear power, not really. Fusion reactor, not really. Right. I think I had the modules. Yeah, so they were made with modules. So I kind of want to do that still, but it's not going to be a module. You just upgrade the power. So what if it was the case? I'm just thinking a little bit here. So maybe we should say that, you know, the level ups here don't really work this way necessarily. Or maybe they do. Maybe this is the capacity that you can have, but this isn't actually the amount of bays that you have, for instance. Or same in the mining complex. This gives you the capacity to have 64 miners, but that doesn't mean you have to have that many miners. You can run fewer miners if you don't have enough power, for instance. Right? Okay, that should also mean that you have to actually pay for the miners themselves in some way. Yeah, there's going to be a bunch of complications now. So, okay, so let's write some of this down. Let's go. So this is kind of the idea. If we had to... So you start off, so you have your complex, right? The complex, and the complex can be, you know, whichever one it is. Mining, processing, research, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't really matter. Then you can upgrade... It kind of depends on the complex, but let's think about this. So you need to upgrade the power in some way, right? So the power is important because this gives you additional capacity. And I kind of want to say then you have to add... Based on the amount of power, you can add your extractor or your bay or your lab. Or you can just level up. Right, so that's kind of the idea. So these are the things that happen. So depending on the complex type, you know, you might have... a different type of level up, right? So these are all essentially a level up. So the mining complex, you just level up by gaining extractors. The processing bay, you level up by installing new processing bays, you know, new processing complex. The labs, you add to the research complex, and then the level up. This is probably going to be more for... Well, you could also call these maybe, you know, lanes. This is for the corridor. Right, and you can also have maybe something like... It doesn't all have to be physical necessarily, but like these things technically are kind of... what do you have for the hub? So the hub could just be... it's throughput, but... Is it also a bay? It's like... Or an additional dock. I don't know. I don't know, but something for the hub, right? So the idea is when you level these up, you gain these extra things. Or in some cases, you just build them. But the real limitation is going to be not these. It's going to be the power. So you can't add extractors infinitely. You can add as many as you like, depending on your power. But at some point, your power is kind of low, and then, you know, the game could say, look, you can't support additional extractors. Right. Something like that. I feel like that's fine. Now, to make the power interesting, I could have it all be solar based and then nuclear or fusion, like I kind of did here. Or I could have it be a variety of things like solar panels, gas turbines, nuclear power, fusion reactor. The idea would be that something like a gas turbine has a maximum power output of like, I don't know, 50,000 or something. But that would be, that would be for, let's think about this. So that's quite a large maximum output. But I guess what you could say is that they only burn enough fuel, so they're flexible. Yeah, so they'll only burn the amount of fuel required to be able to meet exactly what your current power demand is. Yeah, I think that could work. But maybe you need to build more than one. So we could say that these are like 10,000, maybe. Nuclear power, this one would be more stable at like... Now here we need to think about fuel capacity. So this one does 2,000. Well, okay, now I'm not going to work it like that necessarily. Well, I could still. Okay, so nuclear power, maybe this one is also 10,000. Right, but it's a very stable 10,000. And then the fusion reactor could be something like, 20,000 or something like that. Maybe this one should be like 5,000. I need to think about this also, because if you think about it, the solar panels 2,000, you could just build 10 of them and then you have a fusion reactor's worth of power. But also it depends on where you are. Like if you are at Saturn, then you're not going to be building that many solar panels. You're not going to get to this ever. But yeah, I think I like this idea for the power. Now, a few other things we need to then go think about. Okay, so these are kind of now pointless. And even these are kind of dumb now, because it gives me the energy for a level. Energy from solar, so, I kind of don't think these are now relevant. We can maybe just work it from here. Yeah, let's do it from here. And then we can just delete like that. Solar capacity is... Oh, okay. So it doesn't scale with level. I don't think I want to do the level stuff. But there should be a limit, maybe. Let's do a maximum capacity. Okay, so what does capacity mean? It's the amount of extractors, amount of processing bays, research labs, ship throughput, unloading, refueling, and loading speed, ship amount, and speed multiplier. And I kind of feel like the logistics corridor should maybe have physical lanes that increase as this goes up or something like that. But yeah, I'm not sure yet. So the max capacity, we can make this, for the mining complex, we can say, look, the maximum amount of extractors you could have is maybe 50. Processing complex, maximum amount of bays. I said 64. That's quite a lot. I mean, that seems a little bit much. I'm not sure. So 10 labs maybe. Yeah, I don't know what this means, and I'm not sure what this means either. So I need to think about these a little bit more. So this is the base energy requirement. So then the insert. Let's go total energy required. This would be equal to, whatever your maximum capacity is multiplied by your base. Wait, we can do insert here. So maybe this is the base energy required. Just to keep everything operating smoothly. And then this is the energy per capacity. Right, and then what you could do is you can say that, look, you need like at least 4,000 base energy to just run this place. 8,000 here, 4,000 here, 2,000 here, and let's say 1,000 here. And then the energy per capacity could just be 500. 1,000. 500. I don't know. 100. I'm not sure about these ones. So then this is equal to... let's do that times that. Okay. Now we could still have level ups for these things. That could mean... Yeah, kind of the way I'm thinking about it in terms of the level ups is, you can't simply have more extractors because you still need to get the ore and stuff processed somehow. But it would be kind of nice if you could add your extractors the way you'd like to, and add the power the way you'd like to. But then on the other hand, I kind of like the idea of just being able to have a lot of power and therefore be able to add more extractors for free, essentially. You don't need to upgrade the power. So the idea would be, if you build something close to the sun, you could just add a few extra extractors because you get almost double the power you'd get at Earth. Yeah, I mean, we could still do that and just make the levels a little bit more meaningful in terms of extracted number or whatever. Now, so we could still work with the levels. Yeah, I think so. So we could remove this stuff. That's no longer a thing. Right, and we can have the levels be... what they need to be. Let's just do this. Okay, so level 1, 2, 3. I don't think we need that many levels, so let's do up to level 5. So we could do, you can get 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 extractors per level. And the base energy required for each level... I feel like this shouldn't scale the same way necessarily. Yeah, this might just be like that times 2,500 or something. I don't know. Let's just make it. So this is just like the upkeep power, right? This is just the power you need to provide to your mining complex to operate effectively, essentially. And it gives you a maximum amount of extractors, but you still physically need to add the extractors themselves. Okay, so when this thing is full, it's going to be equal to, well, okay. Energy required. Full capacity. So this is going to be equal to that times, you know, this number. Yeah, okay. So something like that. So 35,000 on the high end. Now, if we look at our power upgrades, 35,000. So that's not quite. The fusion reactor in full swing wouldn't even make it. Right, but if you had, so 35,000 divided by 2,800. Yeah, 12 or 13 power solar panels, you'd already be there. Okay, well, this is this simpler? Yeah, so I had these upgrades that you had to do. But it came with a bunch of cool things. I guess, I don't know if... So it feels like the fusion cells, quantum processors, these things are now linked to the power upgrades you do, right? So normally you just get all the upgrades for power and things like that for free. But I don't think that you should get those for free. You should build them, you know, yourself. Yeah, and I kind of feel like we should just keep it simple, like... So I kind of want to just get rid of this line over here. right? And this one, I feel like 5 levels are fine. Same with the research complex, logistics hub, and the corridor. Like something like that. And then I don't want them necessarily to cost a bunch of exotic things. These are... Okay, well, maybe... Wait. You know, this is simply just additional labs and stuff. Maybe they could cost some exotic things. Perhaps. And I have to think about this, but not that exotic. I don't know. You see, the labs could work a little bit differently. It might not just be adding a lab, it might be adding capability as well. So if you are a higher level, it kind of means you can do more interesting research at that place. Right? Okay, so let's think about the research complex. If it goes to level 6, yes, it's got more throughput, but maybe it gives you access to more advanced research types, right? So that could be a way I play it. Okay, but for processing and mining, I feel like these ones should just be straightforward, right? You don't worry about the structure. You can add power to it separately, and then okay, so research, maybe we have to make that one a little bit more complicated. Logistics hubs. So this one just gives you more throughput. Maybe let's leave these ones the way they are. Let's take away the fusion cells because that represents power, right? We need to install some fusion power if you need to. Okay, there's still a bunch of things we need to come fix here. But anyway, I think that is okay. Yeah. Okay, then the upkeep matrix is broken. Okay, yeah, these upkeep rates might be a little bit aggressive. I don't know. We'll have to see, right? I really can't guess. Why is this thing that high? Okay, this is line 50. It should be 49. Oh man. It is 50. Okay. Oh, these things just get that expensive. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about that as well. But okay, let's see. Okay, so right now we have energy per capacity, total energy required. You see, capacity is ship amount, and the logistics corridor goes quite hard on capacity. I kind of feel like the logistics corridor should remain this way. Because the capacity, it's like just the size of the tunnel, right? Type of thing. guess I should now also give these things a recipe if I want you to be able to upgrade your power plants and stuff in this way. You know what? Okay, let's resource deposits. Yeah, this is another thing, a whole other bag of worms that I haven't really thought about. Same with the ships. Okay. Yeah, okay. You know what? Let's close XL for a little bit. Let's try and do some work on the actual code base, right? So let's open up C# project and let's see if we can figure out what we can do. Like, let's build a new system instead. Right? I think that's what I want to do. Okay. Let's just close all of these. Okay, and let's go think about a system that I want to build, or something I want to implement today, or get working today. Okay, so currently, obviously nothing works really. I would like to get the corridors to work. Yes. I think that would be cool, or if I at least think about how that works. Something like that, right? Yeah, or I could think about the data import. Okay, so let's go with the corridors for now. So corridors are part of the logistics system. Right, so this is my logistics systems. Obviously, I might make this file a little bit less cluttered one day. But yeah, this thing basically does everything we need it to do for the most part. So here we have create logistics corridor. So technically this works, and it will create a corridor and it would add it to the correct list. But the problem here is we don't have any way of interfacing or interacting with this. So we'd have to go and add something like a UI to be able to use this. Right. Okay, let's see if I can play the game. And if I can, then I could actually add stuff. Nothing's going to work, but I could actually just add stuff at least and test it. Okay, so it gets here. Okay, so there's a couple of problems here with like the start position for Vulcan. Okay, we'll fix that. And then the game data somehow broke, and then fuel selector cannot be null. Okay, yeah, so that's okay, it's a panel that's not working right at the moment. Okay. Okay, so Vulcan Solar System has not been assigned a start position. Okay, I see. So you typically get, now if we go to our region views, Earth, yeah, there is this anchor position, so we could just go here and drag that anchor position in. So that solves that problem. Okay, now the persistent panel is annoyed because when it tries to look for resource definition SOs, for resource SO, it's a null reference exception error. I do believe game data is fine, but let's just check. So resource SOs Okay, it's looking for this thing. So this thing is not being initialized, I guess that's the problem. Yeah, it's not getting initialized anymore. That is strange. I wonder why. So whatever initializes this needed to do it, before. But it needs to be initialized with our SOs. So I can only think that our game entry point has to do that. So let's see, game entry point. Yeah, right here. Initialize and get SOs, definition SO. So it doesn't have get SOs anymore. I mean, can't I just bring this thing out? So what if I just do, okay, oh wait, this is the game database asset. Okay. Okay, so it's now called definition SOs. Okay, I see. Okay. Okay, this thing still has a few funny holdovers from what I did previously, but okay. Like, yeah, whatever. Okay, but I think that should work. Now, I don't know if my game, the database asset is actually populated. Okay, it could be that this is just not working because we couldn't find the root selector, so that's one potential problem. But if I go to UI Builder, so it would check pop-up holder for the Vulkan travel pop-up. Right, it is there. Is there? Okay, let's go open it up on its own. Yeah, save, whatever. Okay, so it seems like my selector is actually gone. Okay, no, it is there, so it should be able to find it. Okay. Okay, well, we'll see. Yeah, it is still there. Maybe it was something to do with the data not being inputted correctly. Okay, this one, database asset. Okay, you have a list of definition SOs, so that's fine. And I don't know if I need to give you regions or anything else for that matter. Yeah, okay, let's just play it like that and see if I fixed the major issues. Okay, it at least doesn't break. Right, nothing works, but it didn't break, which means we can now get things to work again. So one of the things I'd like to get working is, you know, let's actually do that instead. Let's get Vulcan moving again, right? We know for a fact Vulcan needs to be able to move. It clearly does not move. So let's fix that. Okay, this seems good. So that shows again nicely. Yeah, nothing actually works on Vulcan. Okay, so let's get Vulcan to move. And then, you know, we can figure out the rest as we go. Okay, so nothing about the logistics we're going to do right now. We're going to try to fix Vulcan. Okay, so Vulcan. Now, there's old Vulcan, and then there's the new Vulcan that I want to work with. But I'll open up old Vulcan just because, you know, it's got a bunch of code in here that I might want to use again. Okay, so Vulcan. So I kind of want to. Like I struggle to read the commented code. Don't know why. Okay, so Vulcan, I split it into 3 sections. There's a region, solar system, all this nonsense, and I don't really like that. So okay, and there's a couple of things I think Vulcan should do, like construction. So the construction node was a big part of what Vulcan does. Okay, I'm gonna have to duplicate some code, I guess, for moving Vulcan, but I'm happy with that. I don't really care. Okay, so I'm gonna want to expose. So Vulcan itself is a special case. So I'll make it a class the same way I did before, because Vulcan can have data of its own. It can also do stuff on its own. So I don't really mind, and it's just one thing, right? One thing I think Vulcan should not be a logistics node. Yeah. So previously Vulcan was a hub, which means logistics could travel straight to Vulcan. But I think I'm not going to do that this time. I think logistics need to travel via corridors, and Vulcan cannot be connected to a corridor. Vulcan rather would be able to anchor in a region and then transfer, you know, whatever resources it needs. But that, I think that's the way I want Vulcan to work instead. So it's a free moving agent. It doesn't care about regions or any of this nonsense, or it doesn't care about corridors or any of this stuff. It doesn't need to travel via them. But also it cannot really hook up to logistics. You need to physically transfer things. And I think that's okay. So, Vulcan is also not going to become a major production center. Rather, it's going to be a construction center. So it's used for construction, not necessarily for any production. Yeah, because production needs to be hooked up to logistics because it's a continuous demand. Yeah, so I like that idea. And then also Vulcan would... Yeah. I kind of want Vulcan to play less of a critical role. Because I'm thinking about now, should Vulcan manufacture ships maybe? Kind of feel like no. I think you should manufacture ships at a shipyard. Not on Vulcan. And I kind of want you to be able to forget about Vulcan in a sense. So like you should be able to manage your logistics and upgrade stuff and change routes or whatever you want to do to some degree without Vulcan. So you can anchor Vulcan somewhere, start a large construction project and kind of forget about him until you need Vulcan again. Okay, but anyway, we need some kind of a start travel again. Right, we're going to have a start travel function for Vulcan. Vulcan is also going to have an update function. So public void update. Right, Vulcan is special in that it has to be updated itself. Okay, public void move. Okay, just something like a move function, or no. Set preferred fuel. Yeah, I think so. We could do private void. Okay, well, we'll do set preferred fuel. Not quite sure. I guess that was when you start the solar system travel, yeah. Okay, that was just initialization, preferred fuel, blah blah blah. Okay, we'll go back to this now. Move Vulcan. Okay, yeah, so you start travel, you move, you well, this could be private void arrive at a region, right? Because we're only going to travel between regions. This is the other thing. Vulcan is no longer going to be a sub-regional entity. Okay, so these are some of the main so these are like movement stuff, right? Okay, so Vulcan can move, and then we also need to do things about construction. So move Vulcan in region doesn't matter. Region position, start regional travel, blah blah blah. None of this I care about. Yeah, so that's fine. Okay, now up here. Okay, we might need to incorporate a state machine again. Just to be sure if Vulcan can do certain things like constructions and stuff like that. So, yeah, let's... Okay, let's copy the states. Okay, let's see, go. So Vulcan could be idle, traveling. So let's just call traveling, not travel in region. Then it can be anchored, anchoring, unanchoring, or waiting to unanchor. Waiting to unanchor, I also feel like isn't required anymore. So anchoring and unanchoring is fine. We could still do those. There's a little bit of a timer or whatever. Or you can be anchored. I think you can be constructing. Right, Vulcan will definitely be constructing stuff. Yeah, so something like that. Let's just see. So there's tiers. Yeah, Vulcan could be upgraded. There's a bunch of stuff Vulcan can do. Why? Cryptography, what's happening there? Incoming ships is no longer a thing. Logistics is no longer a thing. The constructing one is interesting because you can be anchored and constructing. Yeah, I'll work with it. It's fine. Okay, so we'll obviously need a state. Public state. Right, we'd have to have a way of getting... This would be a private set, I would say. Okay, and then we could do public void set state. Alright, and we could have a, state new state. Yeah, and initially all this has to do is do state equals new state. Right, nothing fancy initially, so we just do some stupid thing like that. Okay. Okay, yeah, I had the anchoring toggle anchor state. Finish anchoring. Start unanchoring. Yeah, okay, because there was a... Yeah, okay. I had... Let's get these ones. Just paste them again, and I'll immediately do uncomment. Yeah, okay. So we'll do this private double anchor timer. We can make this anchor timer public, I guess. Just to get private set. Because maybe I want to hook into it to show progress bar or something like that, right? So that could be something. Let's just get rid of our state things. Yeah, okay. So toggle anchor state if idle, state equals state anchoring, anchor time is equal to 0. Well, okay, we need to start unanchoring as well. Okay, check if can unanchor. Should be not constructing. So yeah, so maybe we do if state not equal state dot constructing. You know what? Actually, no. You can only unanchor if you are anchored currently. Yeah, so there's no double state thing going on here. We can start unanchoring if our state is anchored. Okay, so start unanchoring. We don't care about this. We don't care about this. Don't care about this. Don't care about this. We don't have that. So what's the point? So actually, all we need to do is do state equals. Now, if I do this, I might as well just do set state to state dot anchoring. Right, and the same here. I could just do unanchoring, and we could just make the anchor timer 0 for both cases. Okay, finish anchoring. So if our state is anchoring, you can anchor. We don't care about adding it to global storage or anything. And if it was unanchoring, you can go to state idle. Okay, and the finish anchoring one is, yeah, okay, so here we have to run the timer essentially. So in the update, we would get a float and delta time. So this is the anchor timer. And then I guess, we should also just have a max or something like a max. Max. Whatever anchor time. Let's set it equal to 3. Yeah, okay, why not? We're not really gonna set it. Yeah, and this is a simple one. We'll just do okay, so it's one of these. Right, so if our state is anchoring or unanchoring, then the anchor timer can be incremented. And then we could just do if anchor timer greater than or equal to anchor time. We can just call finish anchoring, and we can do, yeah, you know what, actually we could just do that, finish anchoring. And then once you finish anchoring, the state would be anchored or idle, so this timer will stop anyway, and we reset the timer whenever we toggle anchor state. Okay. My spelling is a little bit dodgy. Let me just anchoring. Anchor. That I don't think anchor. Okay, so versus, I feel like okay, so this is a misspelling. It's anchor. I think I spelled it correctly in most places. Yeah. I did. I did, in fact, spell it correctly in most places. Okay, great stuff. Okay, so that'll get us anchoring. And it's a little bit more straightforward this time. Okay, I'm just gonna do. So this is just my anchoring stuff. This is my update. Right, I kind of want to make the update be, closer to the top. I feel like it's an important thing that we should know what's happening here. Oh, this thing's going to finish anchoring a lot, right? So we should actually just... Yeah, we should just do... timer equals 0. Right, we could just do that. We could still do it here if for some reason it wasn't set to 0. Yeah, I think so. Okay. So that's okay. Okay, now there's other things Vulkan could do. So movement. So now, yeah, the next thing Vulkan is going to be directly responsible for is construction stuff. Right? So Vulkan should be able to construct things. And then Vulkan is also capable of storing things, right? So, that's another thing we should give Vulkan is some amount of storage for various resources, right? So now if I open up my logistics system just so I can steal from it. So the way I'm doing storage now is a little bit simpler. Yeah, so it's simply like that. Current resources, right? So it's just an integer array, current resources. And the index is exactly the resource. So resources have an ID 1 through whatever. Yeah, so we could just give Vulkan current resources. Okay, and then, so we have construction stuff, and then we might have storage stuff for Vulkan. And this could be basic things like add storage, remove storage, and stuff like that. Okay. So construction is also an interesting one. We need to be able to try to start building something, etc. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Just going to uncomment this. I don't know if it's going to be any better to read when it's not commented. Because once it's not commented, then it's just a bunch of squiggly red lines. Yeah, so previously we had to check, can we build a node? Can we build at this? Can we build at that? So currently I feel like this should be a little bit different, but so we could still do public boolean. Try build infrastructure. Well, let's just say try start construction. Right, so something like this, and we just return false for now, so I don't have to look. Start construction. Yeah. Okay, so the idea would be we need to tell it, what type of thing do we want to start constructing. So essentially we have a few things that we could construct. So this could be a mining complex. It could be a logistics hub. It could be a corridor, which is kind of an interesting one. It could be processing complex. Could be a research complex. It could even be like a shipyard later on, maybe. Yeah, so there's a bunch of stuff we could construct. Right, mining complex, logistics hub. Now the thing is, do I want these? So do I want to go back to, so I've made a, mining complex exists as a thing, and logistics hub, and the corridor works already. Now, I don't necessarily want to make these things all be some, something. I could make them definitions. Yeah, I guess that is something I could do. I could have a definition for them or something like that. Not sure. I'm thinking about a way to make this polymorphic, right? So to have a base class and all that nonsense. But I think I want to stop myself and not do that. Otherwise, I could have these be components as well. So I don't have to reuse a bunch of my stuff. So let's just look at the mining complex. So this is some data that it will have, but then and then it's got deposit data as well. Now the deposit data doesn't really matter. Each mining complex obviously would have that, but still, what I need from this thing is, how much does it cost? So I actually need a recipe. So if you think about it in terms of a recipe instead, that I could make a general thing, right? A recipe could be something that, yeah, maybe that's exactly what I need to do. Because the recipe gives you craft time, output amount, and then import resources, right? Yeah, so what I think I should do is I should create a new type, essentially, which is a recipe instead. So a recipe dot cs. Right, and a recipe, so there's public. Okay, so a recipe, if you think about it, should have, an ID of some sort, which is just a string, craft time, output amount, and then resource amounts. Yeah, and the resources are my basic resources. So yeah, so we could have I think it's gonna be a string ID, right? I guess I mean I could the thing is, it's gonna be annoying with the amount of levels and stuff here. if I want to change these recipe amounts. Yeah, I think this is okay. I think I could just do recipe as just a string ID. Yeah, somehow this bothers me a little bit. So some of these recipes are upgrades, actually. They're not a building. They're not a new thing that you try to build, right? They are the upgrades that you can do. Yeah. Okay, but let's just work with this. So then we'll have an int, let's call public integer, craft time, public int output amount, and then public int array input amounts. Right, that is essentially all that a recipe is. Okay, so we need to get a recipe and then we can see what are we trying to do. Now, I'm just thinking about this. So now Vulkan can get a recipe. So try and start construction. It gets a recipe. Right? It knows what the input amounts are or whatever. It's just, you know, whatever gives it this recipe needs to be kind of clever about it. It should only have a few recipes theoretically available. So I'm thinking about how I'm going to store these recipes. I guess I put them in a scriptable object of some sort. So and then, you know, the recipe ID would live inside the scriptable object. Yeah, I'm just thinking about how I'm going to connect this to like the UI and stuff like that to make sure I get the right stuff. Okay, so one other thing we could do is we could go to our database. Our definition database, which still works, right? Yeah, you see I have this Vulkan definition where I have different tiers of Vulkan as well. Upgrades, but I think like these could just be recipes, to be honest. Instead. Yeah, probably. Yeah, but if we look at our definition database, this our this thing is deprecated. No, it should be in components. Yeah, so we have resource definitions. I guess we could have just a public array of recipes. A recipe array, so just all the recipes. Right, as well. Yeah, and then we could maybe just do public. You know, we could store it as a dictionary as well. That way we could just ask for it by ID. So it's got an ID, but it can also just have a dictionary ID. Potentially, yeah. Do I use the resource definition array like this? Nah, okay, whatever. We'll do a dictionary of string key recipe. Yeah, we'll just call it recipes. Okay, yeah, just something like that. No problem. You know, get set, whatever. I'm thinking get private set, probably, right? Yeah. Okay, so we have a recipe dictionary, a definition dictionary. Okay, and then maybe when we start off our definition database, I wonder if we should call this thing something else. So not definition database, but like just database or game data or whatever. Well, actually, okay, so the reason I have this game data, so I have a couple of game databases and stuff. So this is the mono behavior game data, right? Which gets, this is all the scriptable objects, right? And what I want is I want this to reflect the definition database. Yeah. My game data and my definition database should kind of be one and the same in a way. Like I should be able to get similar type of information from both. I think. I'm just thinking, do I have a scriptable object for each recipe? Then, if I wanted to work in game data as well. Or do I just have like a scriptable object for my mining thing and then it's got recipes inside it? So the complex has a recipe, but there's no, or a list of recipes or whatever. Or does each recipe that exists have its own scriptable object as well? Yeah, like the resource definitions have their recipes built in, right? They have a recipe, which is fine because it's a resource, right? It gets a lot of other stuff as well. The other recipes are a little different. I don't know. So I could also see these recipes because it's serialized. Which is kind of cool, I guess. Yeah, I feel like I should just make a recipe SO and not be bothered. And then just have a ton of recipes, right? Like, honestly. I mean, by ton, I mean, 25 or something. Basically, so mining complex underscore 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each of them will be their own recipe. Yeah, and I could still have the mining complex as a scriptable object, and then I just plug in these scriptable objects into it if I need to do that. If I need it to know about its recipes. Right, I guess. Something like that. Yeah. Yeah, why not? So let's do a public class recipe SO. Scriptable object. Okay, and we'll just do a quick actions refactoring, move it to its own place. Okay, so now we've got a recipe SO as well. We could have this there. We just need to change the naming. So this is a recipe and a recipe. Okay, and all it needs are these things. Right. Yeah. ID, craft time, output amount, input amounts. Done. And that is a recipe SO. Okay, so that's how I'm going to do it. And then what I can do now is if I want to go to my mining complex SO, I could just over here. So this is just the number of extractors, deposits, blah, blah, blah. But now I could easily do something like a public list of recipes or something like that. I could even make this a little bit different. So I could do a recipe build or construction recipe. Right, and then I can do public list of recipes, recipe SO for that matter, and then actually this is a good idea, a recipe SO, and this could be the upgrade. Right, I could have it do that. What's wrong? Using system.collections.generic concurrently generic. Right, okay. Yeah, I could just have something like that. And that way, I'd have no problems. Because now I could check the mining complex for its construction recipe or its upgrade recipes. Or I could check the maybe the recipe database itself. Yeah, so I could access this in whatever way I want. The data is available. Okay, good. Okay, so where was I? Okay, I was trying to figure out Vulcan's construction. So now this is easy. Try construction, we just do recipe, right? And so now it doesn't really matter what recipe I get. I can try the construction. And, you know, one of the first things we do is we check if we have enough resources, right? So we could have a public bool enough resources for recipe. Right, we could do that, and we could just do for int I equals 0. Okay, we'll change that now. Okay, so this is not going to be exactly that. This is going to essentially be current resources dot length, right? You're going to go through all your current resources. Now, resources and input amounts and all these things need to always be exact, exactly the same length. So we're going to get an integer array here. Recipe amounts. Okay, and then if current resources I less than recipe amounts I, return false. Right, so we just go back. We do this for each. And if we get through the whole loop, it must be that we have enough resources. Right. So that's simple enough. So we can just do if enough resources for recipe. And we do recipe dot input amounts. Okay, so if we've got that, well, we would return true, but we'll also start construction in some way. But yeah, okay, so that's just another thing. Okay, so we'll also have, like, if you think about how we did construction before, we try. There's probably another few things we should do. So the state should be anchored and nothing else. So that's maybe another thing we could do. If state not equal to state dot anchored. Now this is an interesting one, actually. We'd want you to be anchored to be able to do construction, theoretically. Or do we? What is the point of being anchored? So, in the past, what anchored meant was logistics could connect to you. You could do certain things. But I'm thinking, if you are in a region and you are idle, why force the player to have this anchoring, you know, it's just an extra layer of annoyance that you have to go through. Oh, I want to build something. No, I need to be anchored first. Right? Isn't that annoying? Feels annoying. Or maybe it's I want to share resources with the region. Maybe, you know, if you think about it like that, it could work. Yeah, okay, so let's just leave it. We'll have to be anchored. We can take it out if we play and it feels stupid. Okay, so if we are not anchored, we just return false. We don't do anything else. Then we can check if we have enough res stuff. We can return true. Now, here's the thing. Right, once you start construction, we'd obviously have to do a few things. I guess the main thing is just the construction timer, right? We'd have to have a construction timer of some sort. That's similar to how we have an anchor timer. So we'll have a public double. I don't know why it's a double, to be honest. This could just be a float, right? Like, honestly. Public float construct on construction timer. Right, so what we do, if this works, we could just do, okay, cool, construction timer equals 0. And I guess, you know, we'd have to keep track of our current construction in some way. So maybe the recipe, current construction. Okay, so we do something like, okay, let's put our current construction equals recipe, construction timer equals 0. Okay, so we've started the construction, and that's fine. I kind of want to do I don't want to do something like this, if I'm honest. Just because I don't want my update function to get all mangled. Yeah. I like this idea. I tick anchoring here, and then I could just do tick anchoring delta time, right? So just something like that. Yeah, that's clean. I like that. Okay. Now construction, I kind of want to do the same thing, right? Private void tick. And then we just do float delta time. And we just tell this thing, you know, tick construction as well. In update. Okay, fantastic. So we tick the construction as well. And all we do is we do construction timer plus equal delta time. So we could check if we are busy constructing, I guess. Yes, because we should set the state to constructing as well. So all this stuff is fine, but then set state to constructing. And the first thing we do, if state does not equal state dot construct. What? And then we just return. Right, there's no point in doing anything. Okay, but otherwise, we can do construction timer plus equals delta time. And then we can check for if construction timer greater than equal to current construction dot craft time, I guess, because that's what it is. Then we need to finish the construction. So this is now an interesting one. The finish construction is probably going to be quite a complicated thing. Right, so private void finish construction. Okay, so here we have to do something about, you know, what exactly it is that we've constructed. So one thing we could do, we could have a public event action, right? And we could give the recipe, not recipe changed, on finished construction. Right, we could do that, and then we could just let the world know, listen, we finished this thing, and then whoever listens to it at that point, you know, can do whatever. But I kind of also think Vulcan itself, as being the primary constructor, if this is my construction system that I'm building inside of Vulcan, it should be able to pass, okay, what just happened? Who do I need to let know, or what do I need to go and do or change in the real world? Like, for instance, okay, finish construction. So I basically need to make sure that a particular mining complex gets set to active, right? Because if you think about it, if you look at my mining system, for instance, you know, we can do all these nice things, but at some point, upgrade, assign extractor, upgrade complex, blah, blah, blah. So somewhere here, I suppose, we would have to do, you know, add complex or activate complex or something like that, just so that, because I think, do I ever add my complexes? Yeah, okay, so I get a complex level is 0, so maybe I need to change the complex level to 1. Right, just so that it's actually a thing that exists now. Right, so it might be upgrade complex that needs to happen, right? We could do public void construct complex. Right, so this is essentially the what the construction system will come into. The construction system will tell the mining system, look, we just built this thing, so go ahead and, you know, make it happen. Now, the only thing is, this complex, we need to know which complex was constructed, right? Yeah. Now that's where it gets funny. I only know that I constructed a complex. How do I know which complex? If you think about this, it's just a list of mining complex. I don't even know how that works, to be honest. But I would guess that the mining complexes Yeah, so the mining complex will have to be associated with a specific region, right? So at some point, the mining complex that was created would need to know which region it was created in. So that when we want to, or which region it belongs to, so that when we build the thing, we can say, okay, look, Vulcan is in this region, so activate the mining complex in this region. Right, that would be my guess. Yeah, so we would need a region ID for each mining complex, just so they know where they are located. So that's okay. We could do that. So public, we could do public region ID, and this is just the region. Right, so no problem there. And Vulcan would be inside of a region currently, because it's anchored, right? So technically Vulcan then, somewhere here with all the state and stuff, we also have a public region ID. Well, we'll just call this current region. Right, I think I did something very similar before. We could do get set, maybe private set. Yeah, something like that. And when we do our movement later, which we haven't implemented, we would change that. Okay, so finish construction. Here we need to check what kind of construction did we just finish. And I kind of want to make an enum for the type. To be honest with you. Okay, the only thing is, will the recipe be able to see? So all the recipe has currently is an ID. So I would have to check it against like these strings. Which not sure if yeah, now I'm wondering. You know, if there should be something like a construction recipe. Ah, Jesus, so annoying. I just want this to be easy. Okay, so I mean, this would work, and then it can tell me, listen, you finished the construction. But now what I'd need to do is something like a switch. You know, and I'm gonna have to check something like recipe. Current. Current construction dot ID, right? And what's happening here? Why is it flickering at me? The cases are gonna have to be stuff like the strings, right? So we're literally gonna have to check against these strings, which I mean we could. I just don't know if I like that. Right, if it's that. I don't know why I never. Is it case that then? Okay. Now that is how it works. Yeah. Okay. So we could check the cases, and now we know it's a mining complex, right? I guess that's one way we could do it. Now unfinished construction, we could send it with a recipe, but now, you know, we kind of know what we just finished. You know, what I'm also thinking is we could have an enum here. Constructable, maybe. Constructible, and then it's like, okay, we can have a mining complex. Let's just do mining underscore complex. Right. Complex. Like, these are the types of things we can build. Let's do. It's a research complex, right? Yeah. Logistics hub and logistics corridor. Okay. Right, so we could do that, I guess. Constructible. If I wanted to not do string comparisons everywhere, yeah, and then maybe a Okay, I'll be right back. Let me go grab some coffee and use the restroom, and then we can continue. Let's see. There we go. Okay, 2 minutes. Okay, I'm back. Alright, so yeah, okay, so we have this constructible enum, and I'm wondering now, you know, I guess when I start the construction, I could just, you know, do something like a tuple, which is a constructible and a recipe. Could just do that. Current construction is some constructible and some recipe. And then current construction, we can call this one this is the recipe. Right, recipe. How do you do this again with a tuple? Oh no, you give it a name, recipe. Recipe. Yeah, okay. And this could just be the type. Right, something like that. And then we'll do current construction dot recipe dot craft time. For instance, I guess. Yeah, why not? Okay, so what I'll do then is here. No, not here necessarily. We'll check the recipe for if we have enough, but then I think we're gonna do the switch case here so that we don't have to worry about what we are trying to work with here. So what I'll do here instead is I'll do recipe.id, right, and we'll do a few of these, and we'll just get rid of, so it's going to be mining complex 1, processing, research, and then it becomes things like logistics hub, and then finally corridor 1 _1. So we just convert these strings into the appropriate current construction, right? Okay. Yeah, so then we can do current construction equals recipe, so not quite. So what we could do is we could say that we have a constructible type. We just make it a mining complex. Maybe we do that. Okay, and then we can just do type equals mining complex, or type equals processing complex, or it's equal to a research complex. Logistics hub. And finally, a logistics corridor. And then we can just create a new tuple, and we can do type recipe, and that's it. So that's my current construction and my current construction timer. Okay, so I don't know if this is really necessary, but at least now we have it in terms of an enum, and I don't have to keep passing strings. Theoretically. Now, if we finished a construction, I guess what we could do now is we could say which type it is, but also not really, because I don't necessarily want to do that. Because if I think about it, I kind of want to go through this switch statement again. But now I'm thinking, when I think about that, I'm thinking, well, what's the point? If I have to do this anyway, to figure out where I need to add this, then what's the point of having the type? Whatever. I'll figure this out. Don't worry. Let's get rid of this. Let's just make it a recipe, and then we could just do craft time there, and we can get rid of all these nonsense, because we have to check it there anyway. Right, and if I do that, then, you know, there's no point in this type, really. I'm not sure what I'm trying to do here, but yeah, so these are all the cases, anyway. I just need to make the appropriate thing happen. So the idea would be, you know, research complex. So there are systems associated with these things, like my mining system, for instance, which is part of the simulation. The simulation is... I just basically want to tell the mining system, listen, we finished the construction, so you can build one. Right, I don't want to work with... Yeah, so the main idea would be, so let's go to game. The idea would be, if you think about it, so game is a static class, and I can get the simulation manager, and then inside the simulation manager, I theoretically could go and find things like my mining system or my logistics system inside of here. You know, or I could just put these systems all inside the game. Yeah, but these should be public at least, right? Like if I want to use them for anything, I should at least make them public. And then at least what I could do is, you know, Vulkan could at least do game dot simulation manager dot mining system dot construct complex, right? We could just tell it, listen, build the complex. We finished the construction of a complex, so just do it, right? And then the mining system would figure it out from there. We could give it the recipe if we wanted, but honestly, the recipe doesn't really matter because, you know, why would the recipe is not important. Right, and I'm thinking the same thing for like logistics hub. Right, if you go to the logistics system, let's see. Okay, move freighters, blah, blah, blah. Load and send, refuel, unload, receive, create, evaluate. Okay, so where do I create my logistics hubs? Okay, obviously here. I do that. The corridors can be added, the freighters can be added. So I already have something for a corridor. Yeah, create entities for logistics. So there's the corridor, but we should also have public void, construct logistics hub. Essentially, right? So then that's that thing. Shipment and cargo. So the corridor and the logistics hub are important here. So we obviously still need to implement this to implement. But at least we can do that, right? So we can do game.simulationmanager.logistics-system.construct logistics hub. Right, something like that. And then we can do same with corridor, research complex. So the corridor is an interesting one. Yeah, corridors are interesting. So we can build. Yeah, we can build 2 corridors, but then there's a thing about we need to. So this is like a corridor gate or something like that, and then the corridor gate still needs to be connected in some way. So the logistics systems. Yeah, maybe we should change this a little bit. So what we could do is we could say public void construct a corridor gate, right? And then this is connect corridor gates. You know, connect gates, something like that. And you know, we should actually, so a corridor gate, what is that? That is not actually a thing, right? Because a corridor itself connects to hubs. I guess that would make more sense. So the corridor is obviously the thing, but there should be 2 gates, gate 1 and gate 2, and that's what we essentially connect. But we need to construct the gates, essentially. But the gate is just a temporary thing. I don't know. Or we should force you to create the whole corridor immediately. But then that is kind of complicated. Yeah, so the way a corridor then gets constructed can be kind of interesting. So tick construction would just not be this simple. Right, there would have to be things moving and whatever, like Vulkan would have to move around to finish the corridor. But if you build 2 gates and you just connect them, that's kind of a little bit simpler. I guess, yeah, I think. Oh no. Yeah, I feel like I should do it this way. Public void, construct. We construct a gate. Then we move Vulkan. Then we construct the other gate. Then we connect. I feel like that's probably the right way of doing this. Connect corridor. Or Yeah. So we connect the corridor gates, essentially. So maybe we click onto gates instead. But what is a gate then? Maybe the gate is essentially where the queue is. And then the corridor itself still has like access to moving freighters or all freighters or whatever. That could be interesting. So what if we had a public class corridor gate instead, right? Not like that, like this. And the corridor gate would have a public logistics hub. So the hub associated with that gate. And then it will also have a queue of freighters waiting to load. Right? So that is essentially what a corridor gate becomes. So I create a corridor gate and then I connect the two to create a corridor. Yeah, so instead of this and that, so now we'll just have corridor gates, gate 1 and gate 2. Now I'm thinking, I mean, this could just be a tuple of some sort or whatever, and we don't have these anymore. Okay, and I probably broke a bunch of stuff now. So gate 1 equals... Yeah, okay, so here we have... this should then be a corridor gate instead. Alright, so we get corridor gates, and this is now... gate 1. Gate 2. Okay, and then we just do gate dot, well, gate 1 dot freighter waiting to load. Oh, I guess... Yeah, okay, I guess when we create the gate, we need to do this, right? Yeah, so when a gate is constructed, we give it a logistics hub. Okay, and essentially what this does then is it does... corridor gate equals new, and we do interesting idea here. So corridor gate, new a new gate, and we do hub equals hub, and freighter waiting to load equals new. We just do that, so that creates the gate, and then we just, when we connect the corridor gates, or we create the corridor, we do this. Yeah, and what I think is the logistics hub itself shouldn't be connected to a corridor. It should have logistics gates. Right. Something like that instead. I think so. So then when you do this, you create the gate, then you do hub dot corridor gate dot add gate, right? We add the gate Then we create the corridor. Now, the only thing is, where do we need the corridor? Wait, what's wrong with it? Why is... Oh, jeez. What did I do here? Oh, for crying out loud. This is still a corridor. Oh my word. I did a proper cock up now. Okay. Okay, let's see if I can fix this. Okay, so is correct path. Current. Okay, so we look for the gates. Okay, wait, I'm just gonna undo things until it feels like I've fixed that. So maybe we do gate1.hub instead. Okay, so we just add the logistics corridor like this. So the gate itself isn't going to live besides inside the logistics corridor. And the hub is just interested in the logistics corridor, actually. Yeah, so then the logistics corridor dot... We check for the hub. And for the hub there, and for the hub there. And that fixes everything on that side. And here we also check for hubs. Hub. Yeah. And then here, hub equals hub. Available freighters, correct corridor. Okay, so we go gate 1, and freight is waiting to load. And here we go, gate 2 hub. And here we go, gate 2, freight is waiting to load. And then here we go, gate 1 dot hub. Oh yeah, this makes a little bit more sense. Now, when we construct a corridor gate, a gate is added and it's given a hub, etc., etc. Okay, this makes a little bit more sense because now at least we can then later on come and connect the corridor gates. And essentially, yeah, I mean, it's fine. Whatever. It's not ideal. It's not what I wanted, but I could put everything back in there, and then the corridor gate could just be... It could just be a region, honestly. Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna do that. Not creating a new type. Well, not exactly creating a new type. But what I do want to do, I think public void corridor gate. So I might want to do this still. And I might give it a logistics hub, right? Logistics hub. Right, and I think... Yeah, I don't want to overcomplicate this. Corridor gate. Okay, so I'm at a specific region. That region has a hub, right? I construct a corridor gate at the hub. Now, what I could do is I could have the two... You know, I could just have a list here of a list of what? It would be any type of thing. Like, it's not a corridor, it's the start of a corridor. And there's no information that I would like to keep about it. I just want to know how many I have, technically. This is an interesting phenomena. It's like... Like if I... Like I can have a gate, but it doesn't do anything. I could put this stuff in there, but why? Like honestly, I just want to have... Such a weird idea now. I don't know. So this is going to be logistics corridor dot gate. We could also just have a partial corridor or something like that. So this could be a list of corridors, but they are just partial. And then only when you connect them. Yeah, honestly, I don't know. You know what? I could just do something like this instead. Int corridor gate amount. I just say that, okay, look, we're building corridor gates there and we have some amount of them. Okay, something like that. So all we have to do when we construct a corridor gate, we essentially do a we do hub dot corridor gate amount plus. Right, construct corridor gate, we do that. And then when we create a logistics corridor, right, the first, we might do a few checks, you know, so we might do if hub1 dot corridor gate amount less than equal to 0, you know, we just return. Right, and you know, we could do the same thing with hub 2. Okay, but if we don't go there, we can then do just hub 1 dot corridor gate amount minus minus, and we can do the same with hub 2. Right, so we just get rid of the corridor gates. And they don't connect to anything yet, but now they will, right? So that's essentially all we have to do, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I like that better. Instead of making new types and all that nonsense. Okay, so now we can construct a corridor gate from Vulkan as well. Oh, I took out construct logistics hub. Okay, my bad. So we'll do public void construct logistics hub. Okay, and essentially all we have to do there. Okay, so this is where it gets a little interesting, because the logistics hub, similar to the mining complex, would have to know its region, right? So we'd have to do region ID, just so we can identify which one it is we want to fix here. Yeah, and this has to be set when we create these now in the future as well. But my mining system, I don't think I implemented this at all. Yeah. But yeah, essentially we'd have to get the region ID to know which logistics hub it is we want to construct, right? So construct logistics hub, we'll have to give a region ID. And then we do something like for each logistics hub in logistics hubs, right? And I think we have a whole list of them. Right, we essentially just have to, when we construct it, if hub.regionID is equal to what we want, right, we simply do hub.level equals 1. we just make it a level 1 hub, right? And that's all we need to do, because when it's a level 1 hub, it can start doing stuff. Right, so that's essentially all you have to do there. And we have to do a very similar thing for the mining systems. So we might as well. Yeah, it's literally the same thing, essentially. So here we just do mining complex complexes, and then we do for each complex, and we ask for a region ID. We set the complex level to 1. Okay, simple as that, I guess. I think so. Okay, so the mining complex and the logistics systems now have ways to construct logistics hubs. Vulkan, are you constructing? Okay. So it needs the region ID. So Vulkan has a current region, right? So we give it the current, no, not current construction. My greatness. Current region, right? Current region. Construct logistics hub. Like, how did I spell that? Construct logistics hub. I mean, oh, there's a spelling error there. And what I could do here is game.simulationmanager.logisticsystem.construct corridor gate. Okay, so this is actually, I cannot tell it which hub to construct this at, but I can tell it which region I try to construct this in. So, because Vulkan knows the region it's at. Right, so I guess that's a better thing to pass, right? Let's just give it the region ID. And then we do something pretty similar to this. But instead of upping the hub level, we just up. Yeah, so it's a little annoying. We have to go through the hubs. But, you know, there's only going to be like 10 or 20 of these. Like, it's super okay, right? We're not doing... okay. You know, we could even, if we wanted to, we could take the hubs and have a dictionary of hubs with region IDs as well. Like, you know what? Maybe I should do that. We could still have the hubs just as a array. But I mean, you know, why not have a private dictionary region ID? We just do a lookup, right? So we can easily find our logistics hubs. Yeah, I think so. Now to populate this, obviously we'd have to get all the various region IDs. All the hubs. Actually, did I even... Yeah, I never actually initialized my logistics hubs either. Okay. I guess what I should do is I should actually get a list of regions instead. Right. Yeah, I think we get a list of regions. We don't actually use this, but anyway, then you do something like what is this? Oh, it's just my demands and supplies. Okay, but yeah, we could do for each region in regions. You know, we can set up our logistics hubs, create them in the correct places, and whatever. Yeah, I like this idea. So we could do logistics hub equals a new logistics hub, right? We create a new one. Well, do we create a new one? No, the region has a logistics hub. Yeah. So all we need to do is, well, first of all, we could do logistics. Hello. Subs equals. We need a new array, right? We need an array of length regions dot count. I don't actually know. how do we create a new array? Come on. I've done this before. New. Oh, you need to do new logistics hub array. Okay, yeah. With regions dot count. Essentially, right? So we create the array. Okay. And we shouldn't create the array that many times. We should create it once. Like so. Right, so we create the array, and then we can also do logistics hub lookup is equal to new. That one doesn't really matter. So now we can populate it, right? So for each region and regions, the region itself will already contain a logistics hub, I think. Or at least that's how I would like to build it. Yeah, I think so. I think the regions should already have things like it's a reference to all the structures that are permanent, right? Or just have always got something. So things like public, it'll have a logistics hub, right? We just give it the logistics hub, right? Yeah, public mining complex, right? We give it the mining complex, get private set. So the region will have these things already built in. I think I like that idea. I also like the idea of this ID being capital. Type. I'm not too concerned with the type. So, okay, mining complex won't exist for all regions because some regions just won't have mining available. So we might just not have a mining complex in those regions, which is okay. But most regions will have a logistics hub and a mining complex, at least. They'll have some other things as well, but we haven't implemented any of that stuff, right? Yeah. Okay, these 2 points, this is just a way for me to get position data through from the region. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so this is okay. So we get a list of regions in our logistics system, and we can just access, and we can say now, logistics hubs. Oh wait, this is not. Can't. This needs to be a for loop for each. Right, I less than regions dot count I plus plus, right? So then we just do I equals regions I dot logistics hub, right? Yeah, that makes sense. And then logistics hub lookup dot add. Well, we need to do regions I dot ID, right? And then the logistics hub as well. Yeah, so these are just references to all of this stuff that I can easily access. Okay, yeah, so now we have the region ID associated with each of the hubs, And you know what? That actually kind of means that the hub itself doesn't have to know which region it belongs to necessarily. Unless I wanted to know something like its AU distance. I could just tell it when I give it the... But yeah, the ID itself doesn't help. The region might help if I want to find the AU distance, but I could just give it the AU distance. Yeah. Okay, so now what we do instead, when we construct a logistics hub, we could just do logistics hub lookup for region ID, right? So we get the hub and we do dot level equals 1. Right, that's simple enough. And here we do a similar thing, dot corridor gate amount plus plus. Right, we just straight up get the corridor gate amount and we do plus plus. Okay, fantastic. And yeah, that's it. That works. Okay, no issues then. For now. Okay, so stuff like the AU distance, this is now information we need to set for our logistics hub, which we can do. Oh, you know what? I would actually like to do region like that, and I would like to not keep asking regions. Right. No, actually, when we create the logistics hub, we'd make sure everything is okay. Yeah, this is just a lookup and an array to be easily run through them. Now, I could change this as well. Yeah, honestly, there's literally no point in having this array as well. It's going to be so slow anyway, it doesn't even matter. And I could literally just do... And that works perfectly, and I could just call this thing something else. I could get rid of this. Logistics hubs. For each hub and logistics hubs dot values. Right, and then that fixes that problem. Yeah, I was kind of on something with the arrays, but like the dictionary is super useful, and I'm not. It's like this is already a class. It's already gonna be a reference type. There's lists within it. You know, it's such a mess that like this isn't optimized data orientated design or ECS or any nonsense like that. So you know, it's fine. Yo, Nice Panda, how's it going, man? I'm doing well, thank you. How are you doing? Okay, yeah, let's be realistic and just do this instead. Now we have a dictionary of logistics hubs. We can still initiate them all initially. That's not a problem through the regions. And then we can continue from there. Okay. You just woke up. I might actually have to go now. I see it's 8 o'clock. Oh, that means my other work day is starting. So I need to run. Okay, well, I'll come fiddle with this again later. Thanks for popping in, Nice Panda, but I'm gonna have to say goodbye. Enjoy the rest of your day, man. Let me do this. Yeah, unfortunately, you know, time gets to us. Scheduling, all that stuff's complicated. Okay, but I feel like I'm slowly but surely getting this game back on track, so it'll all be good soon. Okay, everybody, cheers. Let me go do some other work.